Hey everyone, Elliot here. Today we're going to be taking a look at quite a special item. Not only is this my first, or at least one of the first modded Game Boys I ever made, but this is actually the Game Boy I had as a kid. Super excited to check out the inside and see how good or bad I was at soldering 4 years ago, but I'm very excited to show you that it's possible and you don't need to be a soldering expert. I don't have any soldering history or background. But yeah, I've recently done a couple of new mods for the DMG Game Boys. This one here has an IPS screen in it, which is a really cool brand new mod that's only just come out, as well as a bunch of modern aftermarket shells and buttons and custom start and select buttons and glass lenses, you name it, it's got it. And then this one over here is actually not too dissimilar from the one that we're going to be taking a look at today. This one just has a backlight and a biver, as well as a glass lens. So yeah, without any further ado, let's take a look at the inside and see what my soldering skills was like back in 2016. Let's check it out. Big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is a fantastic online learning community where you can learn new skills and improve your current ones. Definitely go check out Skillshare in the link below. They're giving away 2 months premium membership to the first 500 people who click in the link below. Before we do start taking it apart, let's just see how it's doing now and how it's held up after 4 years. Boom. There we go, look, so we've still not got any lines or anything like that. The speaker still works well. One thing I immediately noticed, I only got this back yesterday, by the way, there's a big black bar across the bottom, and I think that actually has something to do with the old early backlights that came out. By the way, I sold this to my friend for £45 a long time ago. So yeah, I'm really happy that I managed to get this back. It's obviously quite a sentimental thing to me. But yeah, it still works. I'll be using this test cartridge to demonstrate that everything does still work. I'll be making a video about this separately, but here we go. Let's just check it all out. It's a really nice sort of green backlight. So all the buttons seem to work fine. And then you can do a load of different button combinations. And then a little Mario pops up, but we'll talk about that in another video, but at least you know that it all works. So let's go ahead and pop the back off and see what my skills are like inside. So tri-wing bit for the outside of the Game Boy. This toolkit is about $7 and comes with everything you need, including a tri-wing bit that will fit most of, if not all, of your consoles, your Nintendo consoles. So it's definitely a worthy tool to check out, one that I use all the time. I definitely wasn't retro bright in consoles back then, so this was just a good condition DMG Game Boy, but as I said, I'm pretty certain this is the one that I had when I was about 9 or 10 years old that my uncle bought me, which was faulty on eBay, and then I wasn't able to fix it until many years later when I learned how to use a soldering iron and stuff. But here we go, I've undone the screws. Let's open this bad boy up. So I'll just unhook the ribbon cable first. And immediately I can notice a few things, which is going to be quite embarrassing. I've managed to ding up the ribbon cable quite badly, but everything on this side of the Game Boy seems to be absolutely fine. I obviously haven't done anything to that half of it, but we'll check out the soldering of the backlight in a second. But I'm definitely noticing a few things on the biver, which is a little bit embarrassing. Also, this is really loose. What have I done here? Why is that so loose? I'll need to tighten that up. Or do I leave it exactly how it is? I don't know. Yeah, so what I'm noticing on this biver chip is I haven't used any flux while soldering. Now, this is actually quite a big thing for me. I've only just started using flux recently. I don't know why it took me so long to get some. I think it's because there's so many different options to get. As you can see, these solder joints are a sort of matte finish, as opposed to the ones that are actually from the original, Nintendo console here that are that chrome shiny finish. These ones are all a matte finish. So that is an indication there that I have not used any flux. Now, although it still works absolutely fine, and it probably will do for several more years, having a solder joint that is dry, which is the terminology to describe something like that, is never a good idea. If it turned around and cracked in a few years' time, you might actually damage the trace underneath and render the board, you know, unusable, unfixable. So it's definitely a good idea to use flux. Plus, it looks nicer and it just helps the solder actually attach to the thing that you're soldering just far easier. So it helps everything. So now it's time to take a look at the top half, which has the backlight installed behind the screen, which I would have peeled the polarizing filter off. So for this, I'm going to be using the Wow Stick, which is a sort of sonic screwdriver. It's actually a usable electric screwdriver. So yeah, really, really cool device. Perfect for removing the a million screws that is holding this front board down. You have to turn it a little bit because it's not exactly got the torque to just pull a screw out completely, but it's a very, very good screwdriver nonetheless. Alright, so this is the moment of truth then. This is the most tricky part of any backlight GameBoy mod that is out there. So I'll be excited to see how this turned out. Well, obviously we know that it turned out alright because it's a fully functioning modded Game Boy, but just how well did I do? Okay. Okay. Not too bad. Let's just quickly dissect what I'm looking at here. So you can see there the two cables, the wires, sorry, are coming down from the backlight underneath the ribbon cable here. I seem to have caught them inside of this screw thread here because it's actually stuck underneath that screw, and then the coating on the wire is actually slightly damaged. That's not a big issue. It would be an issue if it tore both of the silicone covers off of the wires and then they began to short. That would prevent this thing from working potentially. But more importantly, the soldering job that I've done on the two wires is definitely not terrific. It looks like I haven't added any more solder because you can actually see the wire sort of just popping off of the solder joint that's on this capacitor that we solder to. It's not sort of like embedded into a big ball of solder, it's just sort of sat on the top. So with a little bit of you know, wiggling those around, maybe a bit of shaking them about if you put your Game Boy in your bag or something, those potentially could snap off. In terms of the job removing and cleaning the reflective film on the back of the screen, it's actually fairly good. There is no sort of residue that's been left around the screen, so I'm really, really happy with how that's turned out. One of the things you had to do was actually cut an opening in the back of this the screen here, the plastic border piece that's holding that in order to allow for the ribbon cable to come through. But since this mod, there is vastly improved screen backlights, so this one is actually not a fantastic one. And as I also mentioned before as well, there's a black sort of bar along the bottom. There we go. So let's take a look then at the backlight, which is the old backlights that aren't really used anymore. Can you see that big black, you can actually see it better with the polarizing filter on there, that big black bar along the bottom, huge, that is no longer a thing in these little backlights, but that's actually what has the LEDs inside. So that is what is causing that little black bar at the bottom of the screen, but that is no fault of mine. That's just of the backlight technology that we had back in 4 years ago. You can see the little sort of trench that I've had to cut there in the plastic. Not a messy job by any stretch of the imagination. It's clear that my soldering skills were not very good. No one taught me how to solder. I just went out and bought a soldering iron and gave it a go, but I could definitely have used some tips. But this video has been sponsored by Skillshare, and they have a wealth of online learning tutorials to learn how to do things exactly like this. There is this really well-made guide that extensively covers how to solder, and I found it incredibly helpful. Skillshare are offering 2 free months of premium membership to the first 500 people to click the link below. After that, an annual subscription is less than $10 a month. So very big thank you then to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I do highly recommend you check out their website at the very least. There's so much on there, from video tutorials to photo tutorials to painting tutorials to soldering tutorials. There's just, if you want to learn something new and you're bored and you just fancy picking up a new skill, go and check out Skillshare. Honestly, fantastic website. It's in the name, Skillshare. It's brilliant. Check it out. So that is going to wrap up this video. I mean, look at this Game Boy. It's still going. I was not a soldering expert when I began making these videos on this channel. I absolutely had no prior experience beside a little bit at school. So to think that I've managed to create a YouTube channel out of just giving things a try and just having a go at things is really quite cool, and it is a testament to just how much you can do if you put your mind to something. This Game Boy is really special. As I said, I did sell it, sold it for £45 to a local friend, and I managed to get it back recently when he decided he didn't want to collect for Game Boys anymore, and I'm really happy to have it back in my collection because it is, you know, a piece of my history, and it's a Game Boy from my actual youth. So yeah, it's a really nice thing to have back in the collection. Let me know what your thoughts are on this Game Boy. If you have attempted a Game Boy mod before, fantastic job, good work. If you haven't, consider having a go. It's a bit of a crack. You're not going to lose any more than 20 quid potentially if you break the screen. But if you do that, then you can get, you know, a new IPS screen mod or something out there, and you can still use the motherboards for something. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did and you're new to this little second channel, give it a subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.